What's going on, everybody? It's Chad. Welcome back to the Dorky and 40 RC channel. We're going to be going over the second Losi Nascar that I bought to see exactly how it performed compared to the first one, which was garbage. Now, after racing this car and kind of going through some of the things that I'm willing to go through this time, because I'm honestly done putting time into these car, the truth of the matter is some of you are going to get a really shitty car like I did before. Some of you are going to get an okay car like this one, and very few of you are going to get unicorns. Now, I have seen a few unicorns in action. I've seen a fast unicorn, and I've seen unicorns that just handle. And then we've got the okay cars like this, with a few little modifications and some sanding that we've done in some of our previous videos. I'll put the playlist up here. Go and check out all the adventures that I went through so you can see about things that you might want to check on yours, and a few of them in here that you might want to check on yours. A couple easy things up front. But I definitely want you guys to sound off in the comments as far as like, how can we take the box stock to a slightly better level? My intention is to reuse as much parts from the car with this one over there as possible. Maybe switch the ESC out to like the hobby wing brushed, so that way we can use our own remote and a receiver. So that way we can kind of clean things up when it comes to like the whole deadband issues and recentering and everything else. We'll probably need to find a better servo alternative as well, because the clunkiness of the front end mechanism really does kind of hold up the way that the servo recenters. And I think the only way that you can really solve that problem once and for all is just by throwing massive amounts of power to it, so it will recenter every time and it can't have all of these outside forces acting against it. You can kind of play with your own servo and you will see what I am talking about. You know, the biggest issue is like trim, all that kind of stuff. There's a huge deadband and you kind of got to find this spot that you want it. And it works okay for oval, but for on-road, it really sucks because you need it to like kind of recenter all the time. So that way you're not constantly trying to steer back and forth from one way to the other when you're already starting off the opposite way. Very bad. So let's go under the hood here, talk about last week's race and how we threw it down on the track and go from there. So what exactly is wrong with the new car? Well, we'll start with, we don't know really how good the battery is. The servo that was inside of the new car versus the old car would make a very weird winding sound. The harder you crank the wheel and the faster you cranked it, it almost sounded like it was spooling up more power. Very odd. I have since switched servos in the car, so that way it moves consistently, but we still got some problems up front that we'll talk about. So the other thing that I've seen online is a lot of people have been talking about the variability in their remote controls, which I can definitely attend to. This one came out of the box with the trim turned all the way to the right, and that barely got the wheels straight. So I took things apart on the servo and kind of did the best I could as far as like getting the horn correct and everything like that. I did notice that it kind of looked like this piece right here was pressed in a little bit more, and so I don't know if I doubt they changed any of the molds or anything like that at all. Maybe my other one just wasn't put back together correctly, whatever. So I did swap over to the tires that we were already using. We did use oval, so I had the high glued over the apex tire there, so that was fine. The car got better with each race. If we look here on Live RC, we can basically see that we started the beginning of the night running, what do we get? 51 laps, and then in the main event, we got and qualified second, and we ended up with 53, 1 lap behind Thad's car. And that's the other thing, is that, you know, I know Thad has not done a thing to his car. His car sounds like it literally is going to blow apart, but it is so fast. So who knows what's going on. I know he hasn't done anything to it except for some of the basic tuning and put a transponder into it. So his car is amazing right now. And I've seen a few of these unicorns out here. I haven't got one. That's okay. So I've done the usual things to the car, like put the transponder in, drill the hole for the transponder, and, you know, raise the shock limiters up, because if not, the car, it cannot roll. On our track with the grip and everything, the car needs to roll. I've seen online some people say that they run them all the way down. I don't know what kind of oval track or whatever they're running on. I don't know how you could get the car to even run like that. The car just, it needs to roll. And if you run the shocks all the way up and run your ride height all the way up, this thing just literally wants to flip over. So that's just how I see it. So without doing crazy modifications to the car, that's basically what I'm trying to do to this one here. The other one that we did all of that stuff on, it's going to become, I think, a little bit of a test platform, because I want to try some of the option parts. I want to try using my real remote, and I want to see if this thing is a viable option. Like, let's say we take a the same ESC that we run in our TT02s, and put that in here with this motor, this battery, and everything else. Just allow us to use that ESC and our own remote and see if it will correct some of the issues that we have going on in here, like the input latency, and then all of the horrible, you know, recentering problems that you see, you know, that's going on here, which some of this is linkage for sure. But I'm going to go in here, and it looks like I'm going to have to sand some of these parts down again, just because, you know, like, again, if I'm going an oval turning left, and then if I let off the wheel and I need to come back out a little bit and let off the wheel again, I'm pointing right. I need this car to either be straight or left at all time. And there's a big variability in the trim where there's kind of like this deadband area where you can kind of turn the trim and not do anything, and then all of a sudden it'll like jump and twist on you. It's being dragged down a little bit by the mat, but trust me, it's there. I'm sure some of you guys have seen it as well. So what I'm going to do right now is I am going to address what I think is going to cause the servo linkage issue, which is basically getting here underneath the arms and just cleaning them down a little bit with a file, so everything moves a little bit more freely. I'm not going to go crazy on any of it. I've already tried cracking the screws. That didn't do anything. Made it a little bit better, but it didn't make it perfect. So, but I want to just do a lot more limited stuff on it, but I want to try to correct that issue a little bit. Because right now, as fun as this is, and as much as I believe in it, you know, it costs $10 extra to race this car at each track. And if I want to do it, let's say every week at our track, and then every other week, maybe at another track for on road, that's, you know, $60 a month. Like, do I want to pay $60 a month to race a piece of shit? No, I would rather pay the $60 a month to race an awesome car and have a good race. I don't want to have one that's got bad batteries on this race and a bad battery on that one. And my remote, even though we're running the same remote, they're not the same. They're not the same this, they're not the same that. Well, here we go again, getting crazy and stealing parts off of our friend, the Granite Grom. So right off the bat, the big thing I noticed is that the metal pivot balls on this side here moved nice and freely. These pivot balls inside this side were completely jammed up and not moving good. I took these pivot balls and moved them over here. These, I moved them over there. They wouldn't move in these arms. So the pivot balls from the same car, the two on this side were too tight and sticking, and the two on this side were completely free. So I stole two, exact same part number, out of the Granite, and we put them back in there, and that is good. So that was definitely a problem. So I don't want to go any deeper than what I did. I also did just sand on the inside edges of the knuckles, like I have shown on a video before, to kind of free up everything, to see if the steering issues that we had are from the knuckles and not from the actual middle and internal leakage. Got the car back together here, and there's no sense in showing you. I mean, it worked a little bit, but it's still not 100% there, but it's definitely better, but it's not great. So that is just kind of what it is, I guess. So I'm in the air as far as what I'm going to do with this thing. I will take it to the track with me Wednesday night. We'll see how many of them show up. If a lot show up, then maybe I will pay to race. If there's just 2 or 3 of us and people are taking the rest of their oval program a lot more serious, then that's just the way it's going to be. I just won't run it, and we'll just keep on doing that over and over and see what happens. So again, I want to be a believer in this, but I'm just not going to race a car that I feel is just not, you know, not where I think that it should be to keep on just spending the time and the money. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So take a look at your cars, guys, see what you can do, and we'll just kind of go from there. So we'll talk to you all later. Peace.